The Hunt was directed by Craig Zobel, who directed Compliance and The Great World of Sound, and is about 12 people in a remote area that wake up with gags in their mouth and have no idea how they got there. They have to, they don't know each other. They are unsure as to why they are gathered in this area. But then a whole lot of violent stuff happens, and it becomes pretty obvious very, very quickly that they are being hunted by someone or something, and they have to find a way to get out and unravel this mystery. And then they find out who the culprit really is, and then Scoob and the gang pull the mask off. And no, it's not like that. But this movie, I think, was very interpreted in the trailers, and I'll explain here in a little bit without getting into spoilers. The spoilers will come up in a little bit, but I want to address the apparent controversy this movie had. It was supposed to come out back in September, and it got delayed till now. And I guess it had to do with the political subject matter of it, as well as the violence. People were just up in arms. They were just so offended by it. They just didn't understand why this movie was happening. I've seen a lot of horror and a lot of shit, a lot of violent shit, action movies and all that stuff and everything. And yes, this movie can be gratuitous at times, but also people completely misunderstand what this movie is. It is by no means perfect. I do want to make that very, very clear. But it's a political satire. It's also a bit, I guess, a bit obtuse with some of its references, because it doesn't just take one political side. Yes, this is about U.S. politics, Democrats, Republicans, snowflakes, deplorables, all that stuff. They use a lot of internet buzzwords and a lot of social media buzzwords where it's like you're looking at Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram threads in some cases. I mean, it's actually kind of silly. And from the very beginning, I was actually laughing my ass off, because this movie is satire and it is a dark comedy. So the whole thing of this is these 12 people were selected because they are apparently deplorables and they are going to be part of this game. And then the few people that have survived have to, as people get picked off, a couple people are remaining, and we need to figure out, well, why them? And also, hey, could these, could there be, some sinister force behind this, or could it just be a silly game that got out of hand? Betty Gilpin is the one shining presence and shining performance in this as Crystal. She was really, really goddamn good, and was in the Netflix series Glow, which I've yet to watch. I have seen her in a couple other things. I need to watch Glow at some point, but she was really, really good. She was also about the only good character in this. This movie's very expedient. Like, from the very beginning, it really hits the ground running, and it has this little chat thing going on a cell phone, and then instantly goes, like, pretty much right to the action within a few minutes. It does not waste a whole lot of time. And it is by no means perfect. There are a bunch of points where it's like, not even a bunch of points, but there are a few points where you're like, okay, now you're just being silly with, some of your satire. Like, it's not even like so much funny. You're just like stating stuff like to the audience, like, huh? You're like winking to the audience. But a lot of it really does work. Since it doesn't pick a side, it can alienate some people. And I speak this, and I'm just going to say what my political leanings here, even though I don't think you guys are very shocked if you've been watching this. I'm much more center left, much more left if I really had to go with something other than center. But I recognize the opinions of both sides for those that are reasonable on both sides that want to make the country work as best as possible. And this goes for any politics in any other country, but especially the U.S. So that's where I lean. And I got to be honest, I was laughing my ass off during this, because I recognize it's a satire. If you can't learn to laugh at yourself, then what the fuck are you doing? How the fuck are you going to be able to not appreciate a movie like this? And yes, people say, oh, politically charged climate and everything. The reason it's mainly a politically charged climate is because of social media, and because some people do take things at face value and don't try to find out things. I've been as guilty of this as anybody else. I don't mix words on that. This movie turns a lot of that on its head. It is a lot like Ready or Not, in the sense that this movie is way more entertaining, rather, than it has any right to be. There are other, cast members in it. The only other one that really is, close to, being a decently fleshed out character is the character of Dawn Wayne Duvall. Hilary Swank is in this, but she's barely in this for, more than, 20, 30 minutes tops, and yet she gets top billing. I mean, to be fair, she is the most well-known of the stars. And then you got Emma Roberts in there, barely in there for a bit before, something happens, or maybe something doesn't happen. But with this movie, it's a satire, 100%. That's all it is. And yes, it is very, very violent. If you're not a fan of violence, you really shouldn't watch this. And also, yeah, it's from Universal and Blumhouse. So that instantly filled me with dread. But I'm like, it wasn't all that bad. So I am going to get into spoilers, though, here. So it isn't that bad of a movie. Going to get into spoilers, though. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Spoiler territory. So the chat's going on that Hilary Swank's character, Athena, is having. It's a group chat thing that's about, killing deplorables, gathering 12 deplorables and killing them and everything, and something called Manorgate that is the name that it's given because they come up with this elaborate thing, like, this elaborate setup in Croatia and make it seem like it's, the backwoods of Arkansas. And it's all to kill people. And then it turns out that, like, maybe they have one person that they thought that they got correct, but they really didn't, and is actually somebody that can, kill all of them, and isn't the sweet, innocent person or the person they thought it would be easiest to pick off at the end, or, let survive till the end. Turns out that maybe they got one of the names wrong, and that is Betty Gilpin, who is really, really good in this. And, I mean, there's not a whole lot of character to it, but it turns out that she is a lot more skilled than you might think. And it's not too hard to figure out that she's the main character. When after this one scene, like after that texting scene, a guy like gets on, they're like on this private plane and everything, and people are getting shipped there. And this one guy comes out like, asleep and ends up, trying to take people out. He ends up getting stabbed in the neck. And then he ends up getting his eyeball taken out with a, with a heel, which is actually pretty damn cool. The violence really doesn't let up from there. There's a lot of like headshots and stuff like that, and the splatter violence. It is 80s gratuitous shit and everything. But it's all got this air of just having like political satire to it. And once again, since it doesn't take either side, at least for very long, without instantly making fun of the other side, whichever side you lean, or whether you center, whatever. If you can appreciate the fact that this is a satire, it's going to work. But then as things unravel, it turns out that, Crystal and this character, Dawn, they kind of get together and it's like, oh, wait, all of a sudden, all this stuff, it's not what it seems. Oh, it's this plot, by these elitist liberals and all that. And it's just kind of silly. I mean, but it's just so tongue-in-cheek. I mean, almost as tongue-in-cheek as the Human Centipede movies, to the point that I just couldn't help but laugh. And the violence, I didn't really care about. It was just so silly. It reminded me of the violence in Ready or Not and also Cabin in the Woods. I mean, maybe not quite to that level, but Ready or Not was better than this, but it still reminded me just of having this air of just breeziness about it. And it is an expedient movie. It comes in at just under 90 minutes. And then you have this big showdown between Crystal and Athena, and they have this fight and everything. And at least we find out that the dog was okay at the end because they have a dog. But there are these people getting taken out, and it's like earlier, like it's Crystal and Dawn. They have this one scene where, Crystal takes out a whole bunch of people in this little bunker area that aren't actually prepared for any of this. They think they're prepared to hunt deplorables, but they're actually not because they're totally unequipped. So whatever side you're on, it's like if you're not equipped to deal with it, with any kind of conflict, it's not going to work well for you at all. And once again, violence, craziness. And also you have Betty Gilpin that's having a blast. And everybody else seems to be having a blast in this, but she is the most centered performance. And then it turns out that she kills Athena, so that's all done. Then she gets on the private jet. And oh wait, everything, are we going to get a sequel possibly? Or are we going to get The Hunt 2, Electric Boogaloo? Probably not. But overall, the movie is fun for what it is. Really just watch it because you're gonna appreciate some of it. And if you hate it, I'll totally understand. But really, it's a lot of fun. I'm gonna give it a B. It's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. Ready or Not was better, and I gave that a B+. But it gets a B because it is entertaining. If I forget to put a poll up there, please let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.